Welcome into the Boardroom Podcast. I'm Ward 6 Alderman Ben Piper.
Ward 4 Alderman Chad Wicker.
It is July 16th.
Is it 16th? Okay.
All right. Summer vacation's almost over for the kiddos. We're about to get back into some sense of normalcy, I hope, at least in my household. Can we at least start waking up before at 9 o'clock in the morning? Well, changing out of your pajamas before lunchtime.
Well, your daughter plays 9 sports.
That's true. No rest
She's like
for the
Bo
weary.
Jackson over there.
No rest for the weary. She don't break the bat over her head like he used to just yet. So we're working on that. But we do have some. I'm trying to think. No big events coming up anytime real soon. I mean, the farmers market's got continuing to go on every Saturday, so you don't want to miss out on that.
Just hot out right now. It's
very hot. We have the Tee Off for Teachers event going on at the Hernando Golf and Racquet Club next Thursday, July 24th. The crew has reached their fundraising goal, which is great news. Over $50,000 be raised for teacher grants for Hernando teachers. So if you're a Hernando teacher, put in for your grant, get your project going, get your grant application in, so that way you can get a little help to give another educational opportunity for your kids. And for your students, there'll be all kind of meet the teacher events and meet the tiger events coming up, and we'll have those for you as well. Your mayor and board of aldermen here in Hernando, we will be going to the Mississippi Municipal League conference coming up this weekend through part of next week.
You think everybody should go?
I think it's a great training opportunity for everybody. There's always great educational. I think even Alderman Miller, who's been an alderman for 3 decades, still goes because he says there's stuff that he's still learning, and stuff changes. And we didn't get asked to do the podcast class again, so I'm assuming that the first one didn't go well. But we did it one time and we tried. But we do have some good educational opportunities down there. Economic development classes. I think it's going to be the first thing on my to-do list once all the classes open up. So it should be good. There's thousands of people that come down to Biloxi. I mean, in case you haven't ever heard of this, Mississippi Municipal League holds different kinds of training classes in municipal law, municipal land use. They run like a mock board meeting, so that way you can kind of practice what a board meeting is like. Just different laws and statutes that you have to uphold as an alderman, so that way you can go back and service your citizens lawfully and correctly. So that will be a great opportunity for everybody on the board to to kind of network a little bit and increase our knowledge, get a little more trained up. We got that coming. School starts back July 31st, but there's something bigger than the school going on right now.
I think it's the most important thing we're going to deal with this year.
It is. The chatter started on it a few weeks ago, and that is...
Well, who started the chatter?
I think it was one of the other podcasts, the DeSoto County Brief guys.
I'm talking about who, but they based that off who? Where did the chatter come from?
I don't know where the chatter came from.
I think somebody had presented something in front of the Board of Supervisors.
Okay. Is that what it was?
Yeah. Who did that?
So our guest today, he's a firecracker, I guess, when it comes to that. When it comes to property tax assessment, this is one of those big topics right now. Jeff Fitch, our DeSoto County tax assessor,
the first two-time guest we've had on the program.
That can't be right.
He's the first repeat.
Well, I'm honored to be a repeat.
He was one of the. He was definitely one of the first. I feel like he was definitely one of the first guests we ever had.
Yeah.
And here we are, 60 some odd episodes in now.
Just while he's here, I mean, he's always very helpful. Anytime, even before this tax assessment they were going to talk about, anytime there's a question about revenue or anything, he's just a phone call away and always has a lot of information. So we always appreciate that.
Well, thank y'all. I appreciate you. I appreciate y'all having me and trying to clear this up for the taxpayers of DeSoto County. And it's weighed heavy on our office's mind for ever since we knew this was coming down the pike. So I'm going to do my best to explain it and put everybody at ease if possible.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So it's complicated. And I think that even on our podcast, we tried to define what a mill is. I did a terrible job of doing that. So what is a mill?
A mill is 1/1000th of a dollar, and that's how your taxes are calculated off a millage rate. So each entity, taxing entity, has a value of $1. DeSoto County's value of a mill this year is going to be a little over $3 million per mill. So it's going to be a significant increase because of the assessment change.
Hernando's is, just so people know, Hernando's is a little over 200,000 per
Yes,
mill.
sir. Mm-hmm.
A little smaller.
A little bit smaller, but, that's all right.
So the other part of this I think that people think about is they've got a whatever square foot house, hey, it's worth $400,000
Right.
on the market. If they decided I'm going to sell my house tomorrow, it's worth $400,000. I'm putting it on the market. That's not necessarily what we're talking about when we talk about assessed value.
That's right. So there's real market value and then there's tax value. So the Mississippi Department of Revenue, they control the way we appraise a home. And for years and years and years, we've used the same formula. All 82 counties in the state use the same formula. There's certain pockets of the state that has incredible growth and incredible value of their homes. DeSoto County is blessed to have that. So each year, the taxes are calculated off of any commercial vacant lot or a house based off of two things: the assessment and the tax rate that each taxing entity has. There's several taxing entities. You got your cities, you got your school board, you got your county, and each one has to come up with their formula off the assessment and their budget, how to set their millage rate or their tax rate. So for years and years and years, we've had such incredible growth that I haven't wanted to adjust our assessment. And each year I get audited by the Department of Revenue, and if we can show that we're within 85% of market value, they left us alone. Well, we try to keep it low because we're always thinking a correction's going to come. The last time the correction came was 08, 09. Y'all remember when the bust happened. So when that happened, we got real close to market value, and sometimes we would even be a little over 100% on value. So because houses were being dumped, and that goes into our formula.
Sure.
But since then, I thought for sure in 2020 we'd have a major correction with COVID, but it went the other way. There was so much money dumped into the economy. Folks wasn't spending it on restaurants and traveling. They were buying homes, and the prices went through the roof. So we lost our 85% ratio study that we could do. The last 2 years, the highest we could get was 56% of market value. So the DR, even though we didn't need the extra money, because we normally have on the minimum a 3.2% growth, just new growth throughout the county. And that sustains all the taxing entities pretty much from having a tax increase. But the state said, well, y'all aren't going to change it. And like I say, they did it to all 82 counties, but several pockets were way off. So they changed our pricing manual across the board in our system. We had no choice. So if your house was valued at this, with the new formula, it went to this. It created almost right at a 40% increase in residential property. On the assessment. So we cannot tax people at 40% higher than there was last year. There's a law out there that only 10% can be collected this year more than it was last year. So all the taxing entities are taking all these numbers and they're adjusting their millage rate down. And it's a very, very difficult formula to follow.
Mm-hmm. And so for folks out there, I'm sure there's people that are like, gosh, I don't know what I even pay in property tax. Or maybe they just say, well, I pay too much. And I don't necessarily disagree with you on that. But you can find these numbers. I know the place that I always look for them is, let's say you're doing your taxes, right? Your mortgage company, if you have a mortgage company, will send you a document that will tell you exactly what you pay in taxes every single year.
That's right.
Because when Jeff called me and told me all this stuff about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I said, well, golly, that means if nothing changes, I'm going to pay $1,000 more in taxes. He said, how do you know that? And I said, because I know how much I pay in property taxes.
That's right.
Right, so that's how you know. So last year, for example, if you paid $2,500 in property taxes, potentially, this won't happen, I don't think, but you would potentially go from $2,500 to $3,500, which would be a massive increase. That's right. That's going to be something the Hernando Board of Aldermen has to discuss. It's something the DeSoto County School Board has to discuss, and the school board leadership and DeSoto County Schools leadership has to discuss. It's something the DeSoto County Board of Supervisors has to discuss.
That's right.
Millage is not going to stay the same. I can't imagine. It's probably going to come down some amount.
It has to.
And
it has to.
There are other impacts when that happens, because this millage rate doesn't just affect your home.
It does not. So if here's the problem when calculating this. So if you were over 65 in 2024 and you came and filed the homestead exemption, and if you are disabled and you had your homestead or any year prior to that, your taxes are frozen. Well, I say that. Your assessment is frozen. Let me say it like that. Your assessment is frozen. So we will not go up on that. So if your assessment is frozen and the millage rate drops, you're actually going to see a decrease in your property taxes. So when all the taxing entities take that into account, they have to make sure they don't give away too much money from that, and it's a substantial number because it's not only the over 65 and disabled, it's also car tags, it's also personal property on business. All of that follows the tax rate. So
Right.
if the millage rate drops, they're going to see a decrease. So whenever figuring that calculation, they have to make sure they allow for that.
So you could have a situation potentially where your home property taxes, you may see your home property taxes stay about the same, but then your car tag could decrease potentially.
Absolutely, it will
Right?
decrease. Yes, sir.
So that would be something that could happen for those of y'all listening. Now, car tags notoriously are high in the state, right? That's something that is something that I hear often.
Sure.
And so that could be potentially a good thing if there's somehow we as a city could work it out where your property taxes would, at least for the city, that's all we're in charge of the city, so that's all we can be worried about.
That's right.
Your city property taxes stay roughly the same, and maybe your car tag drops a little bit. I think that would be great. But it comes down to two other entities. I do know the DeSoto County Board of Supervisors prides themselves on not having tax increases.
Absolutely, they're working diligently to get that right. So I think they're going to stay as flat as possible. Yes, sir.
So it is going to be very interesting to see. It's a huge. It is probably the biggest thing that's going right now. I know I think you got a pretty big speech coming up with the DeSoto County Realtors.
Board of Realtors on July the 30th.
So that's coming up. If you're a realtor and you're listening to this, you don't want to miss out on that. Clear your schedule. Basically, that's like must-see TV when Jeff comes to visit you guys on, you said July 30th?
July 30th.
July 30th.
Yes, sir.
Just saw that on the way in. So it is it's a huge adjustment. It's something that I think anybody that's in elected leadership has been discussing for weeks. And I think that it's going to take a lot of discussion, I think, with the Hernando Board of Aldermen to come up with a good number for everybody.
And Jeff, can you help me just for the people to understand? It's not as simple as you lower your millage rate to get to the same number as last year. There's various factors that go into that.
Yes, sir.
And so it's just not as easy. I think there's some chatter out there. You hear that, well, they just got to lower the millage rate to make it flat. Well, if we do that, there may be some loss of revenue for the city, things like that. We have to run a government, so there's going to be a lot of, I think, hard decisions made.
Absolutely.
Over the next couple of months. So
it's going to be impossible to stay exactly flat. And I look for everyone to have a very, very small increase in county and city, and hopefully the schools as well. We will send out and they should have been mailed Monday, a reassessment card. It's the first time we've ever done it, and it will have your new reassessment. We don't have last year's on there, but we have what we have your house valued for this year. You have the month of July after you get that card to get in contact with us and prove that we're wrong. But again, the state wanted us at 100%. We backed it down off our index to get down to approximately 85% of value.
and Jeff, like if you add a pool, does that increase your assessed value?
If you added a pool, it does.
Or shop, things like that.
Anything permanent to your property is increased. Yes, sir. We get a permit from the city or the county, and we go out and appraise it and put it on your tax roll. Yes, sir.
So so I get my card in the mail and it says, "Ben, your house worth $1 million."
That's right.
It's not.
Yes, sir.
We both know that.
Close.
All three of us know that.
Close.
And so what is that? I mean, are you sending pictures? Are you saying, "Hey, we need to, have you guys come out and look at it again," or what
You
is
come
that?
see us and you show us why we're wrong. And I don't think you're going to be able to do it. We've done a broad spectrum. I've had a lot of people checking on this, and so far nobody's been able to say we're too high.
Has anyone ever come in and said it's too low?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, they think it's based off if they're trying to get an equity line or something like that. And they want us to raise our value, but they're not supposed to use our numbers. Ours is supposed to be for tax purposes only. So,
Gotcha.
So yeah, we've had it. And, when folks come in and they'll come in, most of the time they say, we got a problem. I said, I know. We got your property too low. We can work on that. So normally it lightens them up a little bit when they're fixing to yell at me, but we can handle it.
But you know what, we hadn't mentioned, but you have a team of guys. I know some of them, they go out every day in the heat and assess property. And
They do.
See, I think they measure square footage, and you have a formula, I think is what they do. So
We do, yeah. And again, like I say, we have a 3.2% increase this year alone. And when we're at $3 billion, that's a lot. That's a lot of money. I'm proud of this. Of course, it's not us doing it, but I'm proud that we're able to keep up. It's really the cities and the schools that bring in folks here. But we are by far the number one assessed DeSoto County is the number one assessed county in the state. We're going to hit close to $3.5 billion, and I think the next closest is $2.7 billion. So we're approximately $700 million higher than the next. And we do it with a minimal staff. All the other offices have at least 5 or 6 more employees than we do. So we have over 300 years of experience with 16 employees.
Good crew.
So they work really hard. I'm very proud of them. Everybody in here is smarter than me, and that's the way you want to do it. So, but yeah, if you have any questions when you get your card, please call us because we work for you. We don't want anybody to pay more than they have to. I don't want to pay more than I have to. So,
Jeff, another question I have is, so 2 years from now or whatever, next year, will we may see a different assessed value? I mean,
No, sir. No, sir.
On your house, so maybe 4 years from now.
We're on a every 4-year cycle.
Okay.
Yeah, we're supposed to reappraise every 4 years, but again, the new growth is taking care of us so much. Even though over the last 20 years we hadn't done an increase because of that.
What I'm saying, so there may be possibly a downturn, maybe. in the
Absolutely,
economy,
it could.
And you could do a reassessment, and you could see some of this correct, as you said earlier, correct the market. So
If we had to lower the assessment, and that could happen. I don't think it will, but if we did. Unfortunately, the taxing entities would probably have to raise the millage rate back up a little bit to make up the difference because government has to have so much money to operate. And
one thing that and Ben and I had this conversation, we don't want to lower the millage rate in Hernando to a point where we have to raise taxes next year.
Exactly.
I think we want to kind of keep a flat revenue number, and
That's
so
right.
that's what I think we're talking about as a board and as a group. So
the things I worry about most, the young folks and the people right on the bubble, there's so many out there, and let's say you have a significant increase this year in your property tax. Well, your bill goes to the mortgage company. The mortgage company goes ahead and fronts that for you, and then they do your reassessment next spring. Well, you got a double whammy because you're paying the difference from last year that you didn't have in there for enough, plus the upcoming year. It can make your house note go up several $100s, and
some people live paycheck to paycheck. There's no question about that.
Exactly, and we don't want that to happen. So,
Well, let's say in that example, let's say even if it's just between the 3 agencies, it's even $400 a year. If it's a $400 a year increase, your mortgage company fronts that for you, and then the next year they're trying to make a correction up to $800.
that's right.
You're looking at $65, $70 a month.
That's
it just
right.
has to come out of thin air. You got to figure that out.
That's right.
So it's not something that, I think it's important for people to know, yes, it's going to happen, but it's going to happen over time. It's not going to be Jeff standing at your door saying, hey, I really need $600 right now.
That's right. That's
it's
right.
not something that immediately happens, but it does happen over time.
Yes, sir.
And there's some unintended,
Well, another thing that's
adjustments
going
to
on
it.
too, and it's not associated with the tax assessment, but we've had so many storms come through here in the last couple of years. People's homeowners insurance is also in premiums are increasing. That's usually tied into your escrow as
Exactly.
well. So
Yeah.
I know several people saw a huge increase in that this year. So
Yeah, that's right. With the floods in North Carolina and Tennessee and the fires in California, we get affected by that as well. And we have at least 5 a day come in saying, y'all went up on my taxes. But it's never us. It's always the insurance. And so, they tie it with their escrow. You're exactly right. So I look for insurance to go up again. So I just, if everybody can keep it flat as possible, I think we'll all survive this deal. So
Absolutely. Well, I know that we're certainly going to try the best we can. Certainly we appreciate your efforts here. And like we said before, there's been many times I've sent Jeff a text and said, hey, what if my millage was this? What would it be on my house?
Sure.
Just so I can have an example, right? And he crunches the numbers with some kind of computer or calculator or abacus. I don't know what he's using up here.
I
but
use my
he's
cell
got
phone calculator.
Cell phone calculator. He makes it happen. And so he always gets back with me. So he really does. He works really hard, and he cares a bunch about DeSoto County. He's been here your whole life, right? Pretty much.
Born and raised.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is a statewide issue. This is going.
It's a statewide mandate that's happening in every town, every county.
And I think you're one of the more vocal voices I've seen in the state to let everybody know what's happening. And we really appreciate that. It's part of being the whole reason we do this podcast is to be transparent. So we're not trying to hide anything. If somebody gets a $600-$700 increase, so
that's right.
We're trying to be open about what's going on in the process.
Well, again, and I've been kind of told to kind of stay in my lane, but with the cities, but I don't have anything to do with the county even or the schools or the city setting their millage rate. I worry about everybody, and I want everybody to be taken care of and be able to pay their bills. That's all I care about. So.
Well, and at the end of the day, Jeff pays his taxes too.
I do.
So he is advocating.
What do you say what his assessed value on his house is? Ben?
I see that.
And not only that, I hear it from my kids. You better not go up on my taxes, Dad. So
everybody's got their critics. Everybody's got their family members.
Right. A lot of times the family members are the biggest critics.
You're exactly right. They really are. Your family and friends. They're the ones that call on you the most, saying, "What are you doing to me?"
They can really take the gloves off because they know you.
That's right.
Well, Jeff, we appreciate you joining us for a little while. We know there's only so much time in the day, so we appreciate you taking a few minutes out with us to explain this really important issue. I think Chad and I agree. It is by far the most important issue, I think, facing municipalities here in DeSoto County and DeSoto County and DeSoto County schools right now.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Anything we missed?
I don't think so. But like I say, if anybody has any questions, give us a call up here and we'll fix it for you. So
perfect.
Thank you, guys.
That's Jeff Fitch. He was kind enough to join us, our DeSoto County tax assessor, talking about the potential of increasing property taxes here in DeSoto County and in the city of Hernando. Chad, that's a big piece of the puzzle here as we're moving forward in the budget period.
That's right. I mean that's getting the assessed value is how we set our millage rate, so we see how much our revenue is going to be. So that was the first piece. We have talked about that for several months on this podcast, that we were waiting to get the numbers from Jeff. He was very open that there was going to be a pretty good significant increase, and so we finally got those numbers, and so that's what we're working with. We work with the other board members and the mayor. I've talked to the mayor. He's going to set a budget no matter how much revenue we got. So we give him a revenue number. He's going to set the budget based on that. So we're just waiting to see, have that discussion. I think it's coming up probably after we get back from MML.
Yeah, we'll have our budget hearing that first Tuesday in August.
Yeah.
That'll be coming up. We'll have our public hearing on that. So people can be a part of that. But that concludes our interview portion. Chad, you ready to move on to the agenda from Tuesday?
Yeah.
We are going to move on to our July 15th.
July 15th meeting, the second meeting of the new board, Ben.
That's correct. And
I think it was in there about an hour and a half or so.
Yeah, something like that. And we do stream all of those meetings to YouTube. You just search for City of Hernando Board Meeting, and it will pull up, and you can check those out.
I think our meetings watching numbers are a little higher. It seems like we're a little more popular right now.
I don't know what I don't know what's driving that. I do know it's not my wife watching. Every time I come home, she's like, "What happened?" I'm like, "You didn't watch?" And she's like, "No, I was taking care of the kids." I'm like, "All right, my bad." So we do have some really exciting news for Hernando Parks and Rec. A really big sponsorship from Whataburger, $10,000 a year. That will mean some outfield banners, a dugout banner, and then every Hernando Youth Soccer League jersey will have a Whataburger logo on the front of the jersey.
Ben, we've talked about it, and I don't know if it was Jared or whoever brought those guys to the table to help get us sponsorships, and we're probably well over $100,000 in sponsorships. I think, aren't we?
Easily.
And that's just as another one to help continue to improve something I think both of us really feel real strong about, the Park and Recs department. So.
Really quick, do you have a go-to Whataburger order? He does.
Just a Whataburger, man. Just number one.
All right. There's one.
I'll be honest. I was gonna thought when it was here I'd be there more. I just don't go that. I don't like making that turn across traffic. I really don't. So I don't go there probably as much as I should.
So this is a key tip: is you got to get the Whataburger app.
Okay.
All right. Look at me. I clearly eat lots of Whataburger. Trust me on this. Get the Whataburger app. They will deliver it to your home. It takes like 20.
So they deliver?
They will deliver to your home. All right. I think they use Grubhub as their delivery service. And I usually I think there's like a Texas Toast Burger. Add grilled jalapenos to it. It's fantastic. It's really good. Pepper jack cheese.
You
It's
like
delicious.
some spicy stuff, man.
Yeah, I do. And then they have really good onion rings. You get the jalapeno ranch with it. Man, good.
Well, to their credit, when we went to the ribbon cutting there, and I was talking to some of their higher up people, they said they were very community oriented, and they have been involved in several different, fundraising opportunities and donating money to the city, and this is just another example of that.
Yeah, I think we're just scratching the surface with them, just getting involved, with the community, and we've had a ton. We should spend some time kind of going through, who all's chipped in, because it's from the Heindel Center to Tegra Medical to some local companies that are throwing in as well. There's a lot of people have really, really stepped up big time to help make that make that possible with the new Renaissance Park and making that a reality. But we did have, we had a report from the Chamber of Commerce. They had their funding request that came in. It's exactly the same as it was the previous year. We appreciate everything that they do over there at the Chamber of Commerce.
Sure.
That number is not changing. We extended the emergency declaration from the tornado
May 19th.
2 months ago, and we are still in cleanup mode. We did get an update from our Public Works Director, Lee Germany, to say we should be back on a regular route for the large pickup, debris pickup, and that sort of thing. We should be back on the regular route within the next month, hopefully before that. So that's 8 to 12 weeks of cleanup just from a tornado that really just hit one part of Hernando really in terms of the path of the tornado. But it affected a lot of people. It really did. So we appreciate everybody being patient with us. They're getting to it as quickly as they can. And that's on just your debris. Like if you've got a big old stack of fence out there, they've got to take that all the way out to the landfill. They can't take that to the burn pit. So anything that's other than debris, they're getting to it as quick as they can. If you have something that's a really high priority, certainly reach out to us and let us know. We'll do the best we can to get it cleaned up as quickly as we can. We also had in regard to tornadoes, that sort of thing, a hazard mitigation grant that was that we applied for. Our dispatch coordinator, Deborah Rosenberg, brought that to us.
Looking at
talk a little bit more at that.
Yeah, I'm looking at about $200,000 to upgrade some of our. I think she said we had 3 tornado sirens that we monitor and control in Hernando. They're adding a 4th one out in that Getwell area. That's your ward, you represent the area. That's certainly some growth there, and that's probably not a bad idea. And so we're applying for that, and hopefully we'll get that. And I think it's an 80-20 match, or 25% match. So we'll
about
have to pay
$50,000.
And we, if somebody really wants to go back and look at the meeting, I think the board members in general asked some really good questions. I think I think you asked some questions about notifications and how people are they supposed to hear the siren from inside their house or outside the house. I asked her kind of go through the process of when they get notified and how they make the decision to make that. So I think there's some very good information for people, because I think a lot of people don't generally understand how that system is supposed to work.
Yeah, if you have an Android, there's a certain way to turn on your settings. I don't know how to do that because I don't have an Android. If you have an iPhone, it's like 2 clicks and you can turn on your government notification settings. So that way you're aware of all the alarms and everything like that. The city re-upped its insurance plan with Blue Cross Blue Shield. No increase to the premium. And this interesting note from our insurance provider. They said this is the lowest our premium's been since 2012. So a 13-year low for our health insurance for all of our employees. So it's a great thing in terms of having their dollars stretch a little bit further when their insurance is.
Yeah, well, Ben, I think we always look as a board to give those guys pay raises and different benefits, and this is something I think people don't think about. When we took office, I think the insurance was around $700 a person, and now we're just a little over $400. That's almost a $300 decrease.
Every month,
that is not coming out of their check anymore, and so I think that's a pay raise.
And the city not having to pay for it.
Yeah, and he mentioned that obviously the pool, the people are not as sick as they were, but anyway, that's a tremendous savings to our employees, and I hope they remember that when they come in with their 10% budget or 10% pay raise that they always come in with.
Well, we did also have a contract for our school resource officers with the DeSoto County School Board. 8 school resource officers this year, which is an increase from 7, I believe, right? We went from 7 to 8.
I think we've had 8 for the last couple years.
We've had 8 for the last couple. Okay. We started with 4 when we were first in office, so we've doubled that in the last 4 years.
Well, I think when we first took office, I think we only had 2. I think we went from
Oof.
we've been from 2 to now 8. Now, of course,
wow,
we
okay.
get $70,000 per officer from the schools to help cover some of that cost. But we have increased. I think there's 2 at every high school, or 2 at the high school, 2 at the middle school, 1 at every school, and then I think there's a supervisor over the whole unit there.
We also formed a finance committee for this next 4-year term. The finance committee was formed with the mayor, the city clerk, Pam Powell, our finance director, Ed,
Anybody wants to come on.
and then 3 aldermen, Natalie Lynch, myself, and Chad. So the goal of that finance committee is really to, look at the numbers once a month to see how our budget is trending and really see if there's any kind of unexpected revenues or unexpected expenses that are going to hit the budget, so we can make some decisions and assist the mayor in kind of figuring out where funds are coming from, where they're going, and really hopefully head off some issues at the pass there before they become.
Yeah, well, this is
serious.
something that we've been bounced around. An idea that's been bouncing around for several years, and so I think we finally decided to do it. It's not strange to have a finance committee for your city. So hopefully we can look at the finances a little closer, get a little more insight of what's going on and the financial position of the city.
There wasn't. I'm going to get to the last 2 big discussion items. We also looked. We had a public hearing to discuss the possibility of adding Kratom to the list of banned substances. So prohibiting the sale of that in the city limits. It's a synthetic opioid, from what I understand. There was all kind of like chemical formulas and stuff like in these ordinances, and I didn't understand that. I made a joke about that.
If we only had a chemical engineer on the board that could help us with that.
I think we do have one, and so that's good news for us. And but we did authorize the attorney to begin drafting those changes. So we will be voting on banning that substance, Kratom, which is a synthetic opioid, at a future meeting.
And when you say ban, that just
that.
means it will not be able to be sold in the city limits of Hernando.
Correct. I think it has to be the state law says it has to be sold behind a counter.
Yeah, so
and
July-
you have to be over 21.
So prior to July, there was really not a lot of regulation. The state passed a law at the state level that it has to be sold. You have to be 21 or years or older to purchase it, and it has to be put behind the counter. So you have to come up and ask for it like you do cigarettes. And so, but we're just going to completely outlaw it, the sale of it in the city of Hernando. Do we talk about the paving list?
Yeah, I was going to get to the big discussion items last.
All
So,
right.
yeah, so the big thing with the Kratom stuff is like you don't have to have a prescription for this stuff. Right?
No,
so,
not at all.
So you really start to think about like, this isn't like grabbing a 6-pack of beer or something. Like this is something that's a much more potent substance. Really just needs to be kind of watched pretty closely.
And be
for a little
honest,
bit
I think the
longer.
state was a little slow in responding to it, and so several cities have. I think Oxford was one of the big ones that did this. I think last year, or the year before. So it's certainly something I think that's I don't see a downside of not selling Kratom in the city of Hernando.
I don't either. All right, so we had two items that took up a good bit of the discussion. One was our paving list, streets that were going to be advertised for paving here at the end of our fiscal year. So we had a list of about 16 streets. There was one that was taken off ultimately and put off till next year, which was Fletcher Street, because I think there's some construction going on there. But I think you and I both had, some that we wanted added to that. I had a couple streets that were part of the streets were being done, the other part wasn't. Didn't really make a lot of sense, so I brought that to to the board's attention. I think Natalie Lynch had a couple additional streets that she wanted to get estimates on, and then I think you had some as well.
Yeah, so I think there was. We had kind of talked about this issue, I guess, about a month ago. I think there was the second to last, maybe, or the last meeting of the prior board term. We talked about getting some streets paid. I think the mayor was not there. I think there was some miscommunication from what he said at the meeting, that he thought that the list that he put out was what we had agreed upon, which was not right, that there was no paving for Ward 4, for example. There was very little in some of the other areas. And so we spent some time discussing that, and at the end of the day, Ben, it's my impression that we were going to use Civil Link to help us follow a kind of a maintenance plan, and I think that is the plan going forward. I think this may be the last way to do it. Again, we're basically an alderman says, hey, this road needs to be paved, and you try to fit it into the budget. If you want to, Ben, I got the list here in front of me. If you want me to read them off, or you want to talk. So we're going to pave, hopefully, I think about 18 or 19 streets. So here's the 16 that were initially on the list. There is Conger Court, which is that area right there by Conger Park, the little neighborhood there. Keeneland Drive, says, I think Carly Drive to Reedy Drive is that part, then Reedy Drive. We're going to do all of Reedy Drive now, I believe, right, Ben?
We should be doing all of Keeneland. I told Joe Frank we wanted to go from Oak Bridge all the way to.
Okay.
Yeah.
East Parkway from Commerce Street to where the water plant is, so right there between Kroger and Lenny's area. We took Fletcher Street off. Shady Grove Cove, which is a cove right there off of Parkway in that area. Shadow View, which I think is in Laurelwood. Ridgeview, Saddlebrook, Hemingway Cove, Madison Cove, Augusta Drive South, Roanoke Place, Rhett Butler Drive, Edgewater Boulevard, and Classic Drive South. And then I added, in my ward, because there was none on there, we added a couple that's going to be basically finishing off Terra Drive there all the way to Highway 51 there. And then we're going to do the little piece of Cross Creek between the gates in the Highway 51. And I think, help me, Ben, I think Natalie added Bibb and maybe Wadsworth Circle or something like that. That area right northern right in there, which is over there in the older part. Used to be my ward, and then she has it now. Though some of those streets are in pretty bad shape. So that's a list of what we're going to try to do.
Yeah, and this is what it all really comes down to, is that there's always going to be, there's always going to be something that where a road's been chewed up because of construction traffic or something that's unexpected, or an ice storm comes through and it affects an older road more so than another one. I think from Civil Link's perspective and talking with their people, what they said is that, there's high traffic roads that really, need some attention. Like Mount Pleasant, for example, that's one that probably needs some attention. If you have driven Mount Pleasant anytime recently, between where AutoZone is and where, the Hernando Elementary School is, there's some really bad stretches right there. That's one that's probably going to have to be addressed. That's probably one that they're going to recommend in the next fiscal year. I think what all of us want to try to do is say, listen, here's how much we're budgeting, whether it's 1.5 million or 2 million or 2.5 million or whatever the final number is. That's what there is to spend. What's the best way to utilize that, and really lean on them to get that recommendation. So that will be the plan going forward. But for now, we'll get those estimates back, and then we'll have to make some final decisions on the final list, and we'll have that as soon as we've got that. Should be about 30 days. All right. The other thing that was discussed quite a bit, there was some ideas around changing some of our zoning ordinances to have a proximity clause for certain uses. Now that is really, really complicated. So let me try to make it as plain as I can to try to put, whether it's a vape shop, anything that has a controlled substance or an age appropriate.
I believe it's the way it was written, age restricted.
Age restricted substance. So if it's a tobacco store, a vape store, a beer store, a liquor store, a dispensary, they would not be able to be within 5 miles of each other. That was kind of the proposal that was brought forward by Alderman Kitchens. Quite a bit of discussion there, and it's something you can watch on YouTube. I would recommend watching on YouTube, so that way you can hear all the discussion on it. It is something that I think, when it all is said and done, I don't think that the entire board is against the idea, but maybe there's some finer points that need to be worked on and tweaked and agreed upon.
Oh, and I want to say something before we start really diving into this, as a kind of a disclaimer. We've said this before. The opinions and things I state on here is Chad's opinions. And I think the same thing for you. This is Ben's opinions. We don't speak for the board. We don't speak for any other board members. And so, if just so people understand that, when we're giving Chad's opinion on the item that was on the agenda, and so that's why there's not 4 aldermen in there, because we can't have that. That would be a board meeting. So, again. What we're talking about is just our opinion. We're not speaking for the board as a whole or any other board members. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, we're doing our best to recap it, basically, more or less. And like I said, you can watch it on if you want the raw product, go to the YouTube video and you can watch the hour and 40-minute thing, or you can listen to our podcast for 30 or 40 minutes and get some information on it. So essentially, quite a bit of conversation around that. The idea that maybe there are maybe a few too many vape shops. There's too many liquor stores. There's too many. Do we need to have something in there, proximity wise, so that they're not kind of grouped together in the same shopping center? For future developments, because there is future development coming now. Mm-hmm. You've got quite a bit of development off of Mackinville, quite a bit of development off of Getwell, and those two commercial corridors that's coming. So I think that's potentially what this would be would potentially benefit or deter businesses from coming to those corridors.
Yeah, and I think on the face of it, Ben, no one I don't think is supportive of a vape shop. Or things,
unless they own a vape shop.
I want my town to have the most vape shops in any city in the state of Mississippi. Right. I don't think there's anybody who thinks that. And I think some of the feedback we got at the board meeting, though, is when you start, picking out certain businesses, mm-hmm. you have to be careful of that. One of my friends said that, well, why do we allow so many lawyer offices to be around?
Right.
And I'm not saying I agree one way or other with the issue. I think there probably does need some regulation. I'm just saying playing devil's advocate just for the purpose of the show.
Sure.
So where do you draw the line at? Is it dry cleaners? Is it gas stations?
Mexican restaurants.
Right.
Hear that one a lot.
And what the difficulty you get into, I think, with this, and I think that's what we are going to have to really weed through is, what do you define as a vape shop? What is a vape shop? Mm-hmm. I know there's some definitions in there, but I'm not sure we can even legally get some of that information. Mm-hmm. What if 50% of the revenue is coming from tobacco or whatever? How do we know that? Where do we get that number from?
Sure. And it is something that there's some people who have said, like, y'all can't do that. The city can't even do that. So there is some recent changes in the legislature that's allowed for businesses like this to have some additional regulation, mm-hmm. according to our city attorney. I think it was more focused on, liquor stores more than anything else, mm-hmm. Because of whether it was an increase in crime, it was an increase in public health and safety, and that's really like the onus from the legislature as to where all this started.
And I think there was an attorney general's opinion that basically said, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, that basically said the state law on liquor stores trumps any of your city ordinances, or because Hernando had I think we had a little it couldn't be so close to stores and or funerals and churches and things. It was a little longer distance than what the state had, and so I found out the hard way whenever Danny Phillips called me and said, hey, they're putting a liquor store across the street from my funeral home. Mm-hmm. I think it's too far away or too close. So I immediately contacted the mayor, and he said, no, we can't do anything about it. And so they passed some legislation, I think last year, maybe the session before, to kind of clean that up and give cities mm-hmm. the ability to be more restrictive than what the state law is. And so that's, I guess, the precursor to what we're talking about now.
So there you have it. It is something that's going to, ultimately the discussion was tabled. There's going to have to be some more discussion on it. I think there's some more research that some of the aldermen want to do on it. There's some research that was called out, what data specifically is there to show that that crime increases when it comes to these type of businesses, or I know another part of this that was discussed was the moving of storage units or mini warehouses from commercial use to a manufacturing zoning, mm-hmm. And that is something that if it's a piece of land that has to be rezoned, whether it's going to a commercial or a manufacturing, it would still have to be rezoned. But that would be, it would just be moving that use around, mm-hmm. Because there's less manufacturing zoning, period, in the city. So it would be less likely to see those type of businesses locating to the city.
Yeah, well, I think the goal to do that would be basically make it very difficult to have mm-hmm. A mini storage or warehouse or whatever in a commercial zoning area. They would have to basically rezone it. So you basically get 2 or 3 times for the board to have to vote on it.
Sure.
I think that's the goal here.
And I don't know that anybody on the board is really pro storage. I don't know.
You're not pro storage unit?
I personally don't use them. I understand their function.
I have my RV parked at one.
Yeah, so
Or camper anyway.
Yeah, so I don't. I think that again, it's going to have to be something that's researched out. I think everybody makes different decisions in different ways. Some it's just based on, my constituents are saying that they don't want this, so it needs to go away.
Well,
that's
and,
one
and
way
this
to make a
this
decision.
is Chad's opinion, so I don't want anybody to get mad and text me or anything. I think there's a lot of other serious issues going on besides whether somebody's got a. Because my understanding is there's no applications for any warehouses anywhere on the books.
Okay.
And so I don't think it's that big of an issue, but certainly we can look at it if that's what they want to do as a board.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that right now, like the most pressing thing going on with the city, like we've said several times in this episode, is the budget and is the tax assessment issue. And these are underlying issues that are going on. It's very important to some folks in the city because they're saying, hey, I don't really want this next to my neighborhood, or I don't really want any more of these in the city, or, whatever it may be. They don't need to be in high-profile locations in the city. Don't disagree with that at all. But we also don't have any applications for them right now either. So it is something that, I think we're going to have to talk more down the line about and make a decision on.
I talk to a lot of people, business owners, and my understanding is we're oversaturated with these things.
Yeah.
So there's only about a 45% occupancy rate at these places now. So you're not going to see any more anyway for a while. There's not a need for them.
Okay.
So whatever we put in place is probably not even going to be tested for several years. So there's just not a need for one. So quick question.
Yeah, definitely some interesting.
Pop quiz, Ben.
Yeah. Okay.
How many storage units do you think we have approved since we've been on the Board of Aldermen? As a board. I think we voted against them in different ways.
One, two?
One.
Yeah.
One. I think there's a perception out there that a lot of these things popped up recently. That's just not the case. There was a previous boards that approved those zonings, not this board.
Not this board.
And not the board previous.
So from years ago.
Years ago.
Several years ago. Okay. All right. Well, there you have it. I'm certain we're going to have some more discussion on this here in the future. We have probably talked y'all's ear off for this episode.
Yeah, I think good information there, Ben.
Absolutely. We appreciate, again, Jeff Fitch, our DeSoto County Tax Assessor, joining us to discuss more about the reassessment of your property. We hope to keep your tax dollars at good use and not increasing as much as we possibly can, but we're going to continue to have more discussions around that. All right, Chad, I think that's going to do it for this week.
We're going to get out of town, man. It's going to be fun.
Yes, sir, absolutely. We will recap hopefully have a pre-budget meeting and our pre-budget show at some point before we get this budget approved. And we'll
have to have the budget approved by September 15th, so we'll be really jumping into that when we get back in August. First board meeting, I think, is August 4th.
August 4th, August 5th, something like that.
So
for now, see you later, July. We'll see you in August. I'm Ward 6 Alderman Ben Piper.
I'm Ward 4 Alderman Chad Wicker. Thank you for listening.